Was suspended 1 game without pay after receiving his 4th flagrant foul of the postseason in Game 5 against the Warriors. Warriors center Andrew Bogut was asked about the physicality of the series against the Rockets. And this is what he had to say. There was some physicality there, like any playoff series, but the Memphis series was more physical. This was more about ducking and weaving and getting out of the way of aired fists and elbows. All right, Stephen A., what do you make of his comments?
I think that's accurate. But everybody's taking it as a shot at Dwight Howard or as disrespectful. Have y'all watched the Memphis Grizzlies? I mean, they have Marc Gasol, who's about 7 feet tall, legit 280, and we're talking about Zach Randolph. I mean, when you think about that commercial, Where's the Beef from years ago, look to Memphis, because that's exactly where it is. There's no shortage of beef in that front line, not with that Zach Randolph. Zach Randolph is a guy devoid of athleticism. He couldn't jump onto a curb, okay? He has no ups whatsoever, but that brother can play. And the primary reason he can play is because he loves to bang. That's what he does. That's who he is. There is no shortage of physicality when it comes to Zach Randolph. He's just leaning on you, just elbowing you, just jumping into you. I mean, he's doing everything. And then after that, I mean, when you're going to the locker room, he might bump into you walking to the locker room. That's just who he is.
Right.
So when you go against guys like that, and then you're going up against Dwight Howard, who's big, who's muscular, but not so big compared to those guys because they're 7 feet, they're 6'11", they're 6'10", they're 260, 270. You're talking about a guy like Dwight Howard that's right around his size. You got to remember, Dwight Howard without shoes is 6'9". Dwight Howard is not, I mean, he's really a center in a power forward's body. The reason why he's played the 5 throughout his career is because of his athleticism, his ability to run up and down the floor, and more importantly, his ability to rebound and block shots. So that's why you have him at that position, because that's where his potential could be maximized. But Dwight Howard isn't really that big of a dude compared to the other guys, and his game doesn't entail banging because of it. And it's just that simple. So I don't think that Andrew Bogut was wrong in what he was saying. Actually, I thought that the Australian was quite accurate, if I may add. The flip side.
Is that your Australian accent?
No, it is not. No, it is not.
Yes,
But I don't know what it was. But I did have a great time in Sydney, Australia years ago. It was a beautiful city. But the point is that this guy was absolutely right, but I don't think it should be interpreted as an insult against Dwight Howard, considering what you compared it to, which was Memphis, arguably the most physical team in the NBA.
I don't know. Those last couple of lines from Bogut sounded like he was calling Dwight a fake tough guy. That's what it sounded like to me. Maybe I'm reading too much between the lines, but those other guys you talked about at Memphis, those are not fake tough guys. Those are flat out they're legit tough guys. Yeah. And you look at Dwight, and I get you with no shoes. He's 6'9", plays at 6, what? You give him 11 in shoes, maybe? Yes. Those shoulders look like Greek god shoulders. Yep. Like it looks like he could do more damage with his body than he ultimately is able to do, even though his numbers are always very good. His double-double numbers are great. But listen, Bogut still doesn't get enough credit. He's the only guy they have that does the dirty work down low. He is their 1 7-footer, although Festus Ezeli, my guy from Vanderbilt, comes in and he's looking good, Skip.
He could be an X factor.
Yeah,
he could be an X factor in these finals.
But when you look at the NBA's #1 defense in efficiency this year, the Golden State Warriors, Bogut missed 15 games this year. Yep. When he was off the floor, they gave up 105.5 points a game. In the games he played, they gave up 98.6. Well, that's a big swing right there. And it's about rim protection, because Draymond is listed at 6'7". I don't even know what is he right in that ballpark. He's not a huge guy, and Spates hasn't been able to play. He's listed at 6'10". He might be able to play starting with game 1, so maybe that'll be a big addition. Harrison Barnes is 6'8". David Lee hasn't played very much. Looks like he put on a couple pounds. Yeah, that's just me.
David Lee?
Yeah,
that's what's sitting on the bench.
I know he's been sitting
on the bench,
but he's listed at 6'9". My point is, this isn't a towering basketball team here, except for the Australian, who's a legit 7-footer. who can get a little nasty down low.
Yes, he can.
And they need that.
Yes.
And he will protect that rim.
Well, he's no scrub.
Yeah.
It's just that the best ability is availability. And obviously, in the last 3 years or so, it was questionable about him, and I stand by what I said.
So that's why you called him bogus.
That's right.
Right?
Not because he couldn't play.
Okay.
It was because he wouldn't play. You understand? But
or couldn't play.
Well, I mean, he says couldn't, but, you know, listen, hurt, injury, there are debates.
Okay.
Now, you can sit there and think as the coach. I know players, too, and I know what players said, but they obviously have respect for his skill and his ability, and the fact that he's doing a good job for them in these playoffs. He's formidable, and he's a formidable presence. But let's get back to Dwight Howard for a second. To piggyback off your point, here's where Dwight Howard gets knocked, and it gives those statements by the Andrew Boguts and others of the world validity about him. You lose in Game 5 of the Western Conference Finals. You've been in the league for 10 years. You've made one visit to a finals. You've never won a championship. And you look at people with the straightest, most serious face you can muster, and you say, I'm a winner. What have you won?
That was after Game 5.
That was after Game 5. This is after he lost. See, when you do stuff like that, that's when the Dwight Howard that I love and respect and think the world of, now all of a sudden the Kobe's of the world and others and Shaq getting on him in the past and others looking at you, that's when the criticism gets elevated in terms of its validity, because now you have the audacity, the unmitigated gall to look at the American public, the basketball public, the world over, and then suddenly you're trying to redefine what a winner is, because that's not our definition. Now, nobody's calling you a loser, but you can't say you're a winner when you don't have one single championship to show for it. You can't do that. And when you're $88 million and you got a guy like James Harden, who was a #2 candidate for league MVP honors, okay? And you're going against Andrew Bogut. You're going against Andrew Bogut. 18.16 rebounds, 4 blocks. They're respectable, but you ain't paid $88 million to be respectable. You're paid $88 million to be great. And you just can't look at the public and go, I'm a winner. Because now we're like this. You see, that's the problem right there. That's what they were talking about. Because how in God's name are you calling yourself a winner and you going home? You literally in the arena watching the other team celebrate because they going to the finals, and you say, I'm a winner. No. The dudes down the hallway with their press conferences with the winners. I mean, come on. Come on.
Wouldn't you agree? Big picture on Dwight. He has never been able to live up to the expectations inspired by his physique, his presence, what you see,
You know what? I used to try to fend that off because of who you're going up against, but I can't anymore. The fact of the matter is that Dwight, even with his quotes in the postseason, you know, having fun, the affable atmosphere, the personality, or whatever, at some point in time, bro, you got to look in the mirror and ask yourself, how's that working for you? You know, try getting big and nasty. Try being nasty. Try having an attitude. Try being unpleasant. Try doing because you need to, he's got to learn to truly, truly hate losing. And you got to, and no more importantly, you got to sit back and go like this. I'm a loser today. I don't like this feeling. Because if you convince yourself that you're a winner when you were losing, where's the priority to win if you already think you're a winner? We know you're not.
And remember, winning isn't defined by getting cheap shot technical fouls. And he got, what, 4?
Well, I mean, you down there banging and elbows. So I don't blame him as much as I blame the league for its soft tendencies these days, calling everything. But I will point the finger at him in terms of, you don't get to tell us you're a winner when you've never won.
I will bet you
can't do that.
If you gave Steph and Clay a choice, they would take Bogut over Dwight.
You think so? All right. Well,
I believe that.
Speaking of Bogut, he said last year he was trying to get the Warriors to sign fellow Aussie Matthew Dellavedova, but there was no time and no space on said roster.
That's just kinship and patriotism. That's all that's about. How you going to sit there and tell the Warriors, you got to sign this guy? I got Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, but we've got to sign this guy. Really? Really? You think you trying to tell me? Listen, I like Matthew Dellavedova. You trying to tell me you want him over Sean Livingston?
Maybe over Barbosa?
Well, maybe, but come on now. I mean, it's not like it's a priority to get another guard when you got Steph Curry,
you don't need
and Klay Thompson.
Not after your Golden State.
Let's stop that.
James Harden adds they need one more playmaker on the Rockets if, in fact, they want to be winners. As
He's right.
Said,
He's right about that.
Coming up next, we're talking about Brandon Marshall. He gets a new contract. What does that mean for him and the Jets? That is the debate. On the other side of the break, we'll be right back in just a few moments. We've got about how much time left before we get